Hello and welcome to another episode of Flashpoint Show. And today we are hosting none other than Steve Okanda. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
I am very, 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 very fine. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
It's really nice to have you here. And so today we'll also be talking about navigating through young adulthood, but we're going to be specific in transitioning and life choices. You know, very many people are transitioning right now. People are leaving school, campus, high school, and they're moving on to a different setting. It's a very different setup. In campus, there are no rules, for lack of a better word, and so it's a whole new process. And when you're leaving campus to workplace, it's a whole new setup. You know, different people, different places, different things to work on. And sometimes people don't know what to do, like you're conflicted. There's a meme that I saw that was saying when you're in your 20s and you're confused, don't worry, you are in the right place, because that is the hub of confusion.
Right.
So what do you say about transitioning? How important is transitioning?
That's a great question. I think when I think of life, I think of the process. We call the process of metamorphosis. Mm-hmm. So metamorphosis simply it's a biological process that happens with let's just narrow it down to the butterflies. So we have the caterpillar, mm-hmm. and then the caterpillar transforms to become the butterfly. Now, if the caterpillar stays comfortable in its own skin, it fails to understand it has the capacity to fly. And personally, I look at life in that spectrum. Mm-hmm. Now, when you talk about going through different transitions in life, you have to understand your trajectory as a person. Where are you going? And I think when I think of transition, okay, let me put it this way. There's a difference between change and transition. Mm-hmm. Now, with transition comes change, but you can change without experiencing transition. You know, so transition, more of it, just to understand deeply, it happens within yourself. It happens within how you think, your mental faculty, your emotional capacity, how you handle people around you. But change, most of it is probably growth and development. You have changed. People look at you and, hey, you've changed, you've grown, you've become big, and all that. That is change, But transition happens, they say you cannot quantify maturity by age, So when you talk about transition let me use two things: your emotional quotient, mm-hmm. and intelligence quotient, your ability to hold information, and then your ability to know how to respond to things that happen around you. Because it's so interesting to understand that life is 90% how you respond to things, And so when people go through different transitions, first of all, you need to ask yourself, where am I going? And I think this conversation will be so central with the young people who are going to campus. Mm-hmm. Where are you going? Because education nowadays has taught us, long time they used to tell you, go to school, get a job, mm-hmm. Marry a good wife, live a good life, and you have money and all that. Mm-hmm. Nowadays you come out of campus and you come out with a bill. You come out with a bill, and so if you've not really done your priorities right, you can really struggle with life altogether. So with the issue of transition, one of the key things you need to ask yourself, where am I going? And that is personal identity. Mm-hmm. And our identity, I think, without fear of contradiction, our identity is found in God. Out here, life is so hard. The world is cruel. The world is cruel. I'm 26 years old, and I can confidently tell you that the world is cruel. If you've not identified yourself with God, things will be so hard. And for sure, it takes us a lot of things to come to the realization there's a God in heaven. Mm-hmm. And if that is what's supposed to happen to you to realize, well and good. But if you can make a decision as early as possible, so that you understand, if anything happens, if I lose everything, I'll not lose my faith. And I don't know if I'm going past the question. Am I on the right track?
You're still okay.
So the thing is, before you make this is a very interesting analogy. You need to understand the language of where you're going. Like, if you're going to the university, what is the language of the university? What do people say about the university? I was so afraid when I was joining campus. Because my upbringing, maybe if you have time, we'll talk about that. I was exposed to a strict kind of a life. So I didn't date. You hang out and do all those things. So when I was going to campus, I'm going to date as many ladies as possible. And just have life and live. And I was there. I got to campus I got to campus to KU main campus. I was a student of KU main campus.
Okay.
So I get to campus and life is starting to move so fast. And I got into a relationship in my first year in campus. Okay, the relationship didn't last for long. I think the relationship lasted for 2 months. Not 2 months. About 2 months. And I came to realize, where am I really going? And it was a back and forth conversation with that lady. And sometimes I just had to make things right. We discussed and I remember that time I had started, getting opportunities to serve in the Christian Union. And I remember that evening, I was part of the praise and worship team. I joined the praise and worship team when I joined the first year. So I was there, and one evening there's this guy who is actually a friend of mine. He's called Precious Cole. Thumbs up to you, man. Precious Cole comes, and he was the worship director. Precious Cole comes and say, if you're in a relationship in this group, make sure you come and tell the leadership so that you can be accountable to someone. I went back in my room that evening and I started doing personal analysis.
Okay.
And I asked myself, will my relationship really need an accountability? Am I really ready for this thing? And I came to realize by then I wasn't ready. Of course, it was a long conversation with the other party. And of course, we chose to part ways and we became very good friends. Just going forward, she became one of the Christian Union leaders. I was one of the Christian Union leaders. And I saw her serving and I was serving and everything was okay. And right now, we're just friends. And so you really need to understand the language of where you're going. If you're going there to do drugs, because probably that is the appetite you want, that is the information you got. People do drugs in campus, you will do drugs. People date in campus as many ladies as they can, you will go and date. But if you can just spend time with yourself, and until yourself, I'm going here to look for a future. I'm going not to get a job. That's another thing young people need to understand. We don't go to school to get jobs. We go to school to build a future. Our future may not be a job. You see. And so understanding the language of where you're going is important. It will help you make the right decision, connect with the right people, and make the right decision, make the right priorities, And so for me, I think that is what I'll say. And even you talked about now going to the corporate. Right now, I am an intern at the State Department for Youth Affairs. And when you go now to the corporate world, there's a whole lot of a different language. People talk of corruption and stuff and those things happen. And if that is the information you're exposed to, that is exactly what you'll do. Because understanding is the truth you stand under. You understand? And so if the truth you stand under has been convoluted or has been corrupted, that is the thing that will drive your life completely. And so I think it's very important people prepare for transitions. If probably you want to date, have you really prepared? Do you have the information required? Because information is power. And depending with what information you hold, it can either push you upwards or pull you down completely.
It reminds me when we were joining campus, you were told, when you go to campus, there are no teachers, there are no hakuna don'ts. So, when you're going there, you're just going to relax. When you're done with a unit, that's it. And then you move on. And then you went there. And then that wasn't true.
True.
So you have to find a way, because your mind is fashioned in a certain way. You have to change it. You have to make different decisions. You have to change your mind, because this is not what you expected.
Exactly.
And I think it's tough when people who are talking to you about the next stage of life are telling you the wrong thing.
Right.
So when you are there, you don't know what to do. You are so confused. You don't know where to start from.
Can I add something?
Yes, please.
This is just an analogy. If you've ever taken a flight, for example, if guys are going to Dubai, before the pilot takes off from Kenya, he calls. He has all the weather updates. Oh, this is happening. These are the temperatures. This is what is going to happen. Now, if the pilot gets the wrong information, he'll take a flight and he will make the wrong decisions along the way. Okay, you make the right decision based on the information you got. But now that information does not vis-a-vis what is happening on the other side. And I think it's very important. And if young people, we can have mentors as early as possible. Mentors, okay, I have mentors in different occasions. I have spiritual mentors, people who mentor me spiritually. I have, now in the corporate, I have a mentor who helps me to understand what is public service. What does public service entail? I have personal mentors, peer mentors, people who help me to understand how do I deal with my pressures of the youth, because I feel them every now and then. How do I handle this kind of life? Because these people, they have tested a life that you want to test. And that's why it's so important. By the way, it's so important to understand you are as strong or as weak as the people you surround yourself with.
Wow. That is mind-blowing. Anyway, you are a leader. You founded the Unlock Young Leaders Summit.
Right.
Can you tell us what that is about?
Great. So I am the CEO and the founder of Unlock Young Leaders Summit. It's a non-governmental organization. It's a youth-based leadership organization that empowers and enables the youth. Actually, our agenda is leadership development, moral and ethical transformation, and to promote quality holistic growth among the young people. Those are deep stuff. Leadership development, moral and ethical transformation, and quality holistic growth among the young people. So we have been doing this for the last 13 months. So I started this organization in the midst of a pandemic. This was to the realization that we are in a lockdown and people are going through various emotional trends. And I thought of young people because I have a passion for the young people. And I asked myself, what can I do during this pandemic? So of course, I was not having the idea of starting an organization as it is today. I remember that time I was battling with a question about my life. I was just finishing campus. I finished campus last year. And so during that period of lockdown, I was just in my house. I actually didn't go home. I made a decision that I'm not going home just to find myself. So I had a conviction to pray and seek God because I'm born again. I had a conviction to pray and seek God. I was just asking myself, what next? I've been a Christian leader in the Christian Union. I've been a class rep. I've had opportunities in campus. There's a time I organized one of the major summits in Kenyatta University. We called it the Student Leadership Summit 2020. And we managed to bring together more than 500 student leaders across the university. Others came from University of Nairobi, JKUAT, and other universities around. And we that alone gave me a lot of opportunities to see so many things. But now when I was in the lockdown, I asked God, what do you want me to do after campus? Because now it is done. I had a conviction to pray. So I've never prayed for that long. I fasted for 21 days. I've never done that before. The longest time I had fasted was 7 days. So I launched it. And it was not an easy decision. And let me tell you, I was not having a list of prayer items, a notebook of prayer items. I was just praying for one prayer item. I was praying for clarity of purpose.
Okay.
So day one, clarity of purpose. Day two, clarity of purpose. Sometimes it can be monotonous. But I think I was carrying a very deep conviction. So I launched, and let me tell you, on the seventh day, I just had a crazy idea to start something that will bring the young people together. Okay. That's where Unlock was born. So we started. I did the first leadership summit, and 40 young people attended.
Wow.
We did it on Zoom.
Nice.
The second time I did it we had 60 people. The third time I was doing it, I invited Dr. Ezekiel Mutua to speak to the young people. And he honored our invitation. And we had more than 100 people on Zoom, and others were live streaming because we were using the 100 capacity Zoom package. And at that same weekend, it was on 30th and 31st of May, I also invited Wahiga Moura to speak to the young people. And we had quite a number of people. The second time we invited Robert Burale, and he was talking about purpose. And we had 3,700 people who watched that video within 1 hour on Facebook.
Wow.
And we had 100 people on Zoom. And I said, wait a minute. This is something that is growing beyond me. So I looked for a team. I called a few friends of mine and we put it together. I told guys, we are running with this vision. And we started doing it. We have invited quite a spectrum of leaders, you know, both locally and internationally, just to speak to the young people. And that's what I've been doing. So Unlock is there to build capacity among the young people, just to help us understand what is our role as young people. If we leave this country for example, to the leaders who are serving right now, 10 years to come, we may have a deficit of leaders. And so what are we doing at the moment to salvage what might happen 10 to 5 years to come? Yeah, so that is what we do, and we've been doing, and we thank God for the favors. We have had favors. We have done trainings in schools. I've done trainings in Meru County, in Kiambu County, here in Nairobi. We've gone to schools. We have had an opportunity to speak in different forums. And we thank God. Because now it is actually passion meeting a need in the society. I had a passion that really connected so well with the need within the society. And I launched it. I wasn't ready. I didn't have the capacity. People think actually we are supported by some Europeans, you know, or from where. And no, we just use what we have at hand. Okay. Like, you know, even we don't have, let's do the books of accounts. So people think we have a lot of money. And I think it's a challenge. If you just sit down and have a personal reflection, use what you got. Okay. That's enough.
Wow, you have touched on a lot of things that are important in transitioning. You know, they mentioned the aspect of taking some time to know who you are, where you're heading, and then the clarity of purpose where you fasted for some days. I think it's very important. Many times, I think also with the system we have of education, you finish high school, in 3 months you're in campus, in 6 months you're in campus. You have not reflected on what you actually want to do. So when you're in between campus and you realize, this is not what I want. I think I have friends who've quit very lucrative courses to join things that they wanted that weren't really. Yeah, because I have friends who've quit for music. And you know, someone may look at it like, come on, as in that is very shallow, but really, you cannot blame them. And I think there is actually that need, the need for letting people to expand their capacity, to know who they are, what they want. So by the time they are going out there, they are equipped, they know what they want. Exactly. It's a one-point direction, you know where you're heading. Exactly. I think I have also been in that point where you want to know, okay, I am here. I have also finished campus, and you're like, what next? There is a lot of field, there is a sea of things that you would dive in and swim in and get, but you know, you can't do everything. Right. You need to know, this is where I'm going. This is what I need. If I'm building capacity, this is what I'm doing. If I'm going to look for skills, this is what I'm going to do. Right. And I think that is really, that's a challenge. So if someone is out there, someone has finished high school, someone has finished campus, and they would like to be part of Unlock Leadership Summit to, you know, to chart their next course of life. So how do you think the organization would help them? Like, what will they gain from Unlock Leadership Summit?
Great. So I do personal engagements with those who are in dire need. Because I'm a trainer by experience, and I am a coach by training. I did a training some times ago during the pandemic, and I coach people. I'm a performance coach. I just help people have a personal introspection to understand what really am I made of. You know, Paul talks about this jar of clay, and he talks about the treasures in the jar of clay. And if there is anyone who would love maybe to go through because we have the leadership capacity building, we have the career and mentorships workshop. Actually, through the career and mentorship workshop, we help people really get the grip of where they want to go in terms of their career. Because like I did biochemistry in campus.
Surprise.
I'm a biochemist by training. Right now I am so much into leadership. Like at the State Department for Youth, I'm there because of my leadership passion. And I am part of there's a government project called the Kenya Employment Youth Opportunities Project that helps youth in 17 counties in Kenya. And so I'm there because of a drive for the youth that I carry within myself. So if I could be clinging on biochemistry, right now I could be just wallowing somewhere in the village.
In the miasma.
In the quagmire of trying to find out what really do I need to do. And so I think if probably you have a need, you can reach out to me. We can create a session for you. Probably if you have a team, even for the teachers, normally we go to high schools. You can call us. We do we do a transition program for the Form 4s. For those probably who have just landed in campus, we can have a session for you either personally or corporately. So we do that more often.
All right. So Mark 10:7 talks about something that is also mentioned in Genesis, where, this is not really in context, but it talks about a man leaving his father and mother and being joined with his wife.
Right.
But then in this case, you leave your father and your mother at home. And you have to be in school, you are in campus, you are alone. Your father and your mother are aside. Even if you move from home every single time, you meet other people. And so your parents are away.
Sure.
But then they have been with you all this while, and when you're transiting, it's a little bit hard.
Right.
So what do you think is the role of parents or guardians in transitions?
Let me pick it up from somewhere. I didn't have an opportunity to be raised up by my biological father. I was raised up by I knew my biological father after 21 years. So I was raised up by a surrogate father. And life was so hard. I really struggled. But I actually call my first 21 years were years of obscurity. Total shutdown, darkness. I used to perform poorly. I did my KCP twice because of the family wrangles and all that. At some point, we just lived with him. Mom left us because of the family struggles and pain that she was also going through because of what my stepfather used to do. It was so bad. The situation was so bad. And at some point, it affected my performance in school. So I did my first KCPE in 2009 and I got 199 marks. And I used to perform poorly till the whole school knew. You know how the teacher comes there and reads your name and everybody shouts your name like a national anthem? That was me, Wow. And life was so hard. Maybe I can't go to the nitty-gritties, but life was so hard. And then, of course, I met my dad when I was joining campus. That is another whole story. You guys can invite me again. I'll talk about that.
Okay.
But life was so hard before then. And to some extent, the things that were happening, the back and forth we could go. There are days we used to sleep outside. I remember there's a time I slept on a tree because I was chased home because of something that was not happening right. I remember that time we slept with my mom outside in the cold. And let me tell you, that is a whole torture that can shift your life to see life differently. And so people respond to, if that was something that everyone should be going through, people respond to such a scenario differently. I remember going through so much pain as a young man. And at some point, I felt like I was affected greatly. But I think maybe just to cut the long story short, I knew God at a very young age. And I was a church boy. So I used to find church so peaceful. I could get out of home, go to church early in the morning, just serve and do what I what I wanted to do. And so that gave me peace. And I found myself. I think God helped me to find myself. Now, to the question of parents with the relationship with the children, parents, whatever parents do affect the children tremendously. It shapes them to be the men they will become. It shapes the woman or maybe the women they will become. Our generation today is a product of what our parents invested. If you see young men taking drugs and doing all that we are experiencing today, at one point, a parent is involved. And someone said something very interesting, that the role of a parent is to facilitate, not to pump pressure. If you can facilitate your child, and it's so important to understand, what is my child made of? What are they good at? Seeing your child in a different lens. And so if parents can be so observant and keen enough and really know what their children are made of, I think they will facilitate them to becoming one of the greatest people. Mm-hmm. Now, parenting is very important because for me, I didn't experience it in a deeper sense. And that's why I'm so passionate about family right now. Mm. Like, I'm so passionate about family that I love to make the right decision when I'm becoming a man of a family, because right now I'm not a man of a family. You know, when that time comes, I just don't want to date someone because people are dating. I just want to get into a family because I'm in that season. I want to get to a family purposefully, to make sure that what God calls family is becoming family by the virtue of me being there. And I think it is high time parents get to interact with their children with an intention to making them great people. These are your seeds. And whatever you do, you invest in them, it will be a replica 20 years to come. And so, because God sees family as a generation, and if there is a generation that is not in tandem with qualities that are not right, values that are not right, there will be a generation that will suffer. Yeah.
That is a lot to take in. I mean, Steve, that is a lot, but there's a lot to think about, consider, and we will definitely have you next time. I mean, you have a lot for us. You are there, you have heard what Steve has said. What do you think about this? Can you share with us what you think? What would you like him to expand more on? And please be sure to visit Unlock Young Leader Summit and see what is in store for you there. When you're transiting, please remember, know where you're going, know what your end goal is. And if you've not been able to achieve that yet, don't be in a rush.
Sure.
Do not hurry. And as we are coming to a close, I'm going to leave with my favorite verse for the season, Proverbs 16:33. Put your trust in God and not in yourself. And every other thing that you will do afterwards will align. So tell us what you think. Share with us what you think Steve should come and talk about next time. And remember to share with your friends, comment, subscribe. It has been amazing. Till next time.